It's a frantic start to the morning. We've come out, the sun is rising, there are wild dogs, and this promises to be an epic morning. This is Safari Live. Ready. Standing by.
You are live.
Good morning everybody and welcome to our sunrise safari, and couldn't it not start it off in a better way. This is absolutely amazing. We've got this pack of dogs that is just on the road and they are playing and having a great time. Now, my name is Tristan and on camera today we've got Craig the Batman, and as you can see our plans have been completely changed because of the wild dogs, which is fantastic. So super excited that the dogs are here. Remember, you can get hold of us on #SafariLive on Twitter if you want to know anything about the wild dogs or just about Africa in general. Now, James will be out just now on bushwalk and Jamie will be out a little bit later. She's had a few mechanical issues on Wendy, so she's just changed onto Jigger, and so we'll see her a little bit later. But the dogs are slowly mobile now in a northerly direction. It looks like a pack of 10, which I would imagine is the Investec pack. And so we're going to try see if we can't keep up with them. I don't think we're going to have them too long, because if they run like this, we're going to be at the gate in about 5 minutes. So it is going to be probably a short but sweet sighting of them, but it's always incredible to watch the dogs, especially when they're playing and they're running along and chasing one another as they are doing this morning. It's just absolute chaos when it comes to wild dogs. I love when they're in these kind of moods, so I'm just going to try and pull to the side so that we can actually see them, but they seem to be playing a lot this morning, and this is the time that they'll get up and they'll start to move, and hopefully, like I say, they're going to turn and come a little bit further east and not just stay going north, because if they start turning east then we'll be able to follow them, but if they go north then it's going to be a bit of an issue. But you can see, look, they're busy playing at the moment, and these games are all great because what will happen with this is that they're learning how to grab each other, grab prey items. It all becomes a vital part of their growing up and their way of sort of getting used to what they're doing. So a lot of these will be younger dogs. Now I'm just going to pull a little bit forward here so we can see them playing, but look at that, they're back on their back legs. And you can hear them squeaking a little bit. Wild dogs make the most amazing noises. You'll find that they'll squeak and they'll woo, and when they're like this, it is pure playtime. And what will happen is once the playtime is finished, then it's time to go hunting. So they would have been resting through the night. It was a dark night. The moon is starting to get sort of going towards new moon, and so the nights are not as bright as it was a few weeks ago. And so the dogs will typically rest then, and then now in the morning they'll start to get going and they'll start to be able to start hunting. But there's playtime first before the hunting starts. There we go, you can see a few of them on their back legs, and that is typical wild dog play. When they're up on their back legs and biting one another and going after one another, that is absolutely typical of the dogs. Now we're trying to play leapfrog a little bit because Aubrey is here and he managed to find the dogs for us, and so we're trying to let his guests have a view of what's going on as well as us. So it is kind of a game of leapfrog and we let each one have a chance. There you can see them up in the distance. Isn't this amazing? What a way to start the morning. And you can see those little dawn colors in the background. Really is very, very pretty. Now, what you'll notice is, though, even though they're playing, that there is always one or two dogs that are off on the sides, and they'll be the ones that are listening and just looking out for any signs of any potential prey items or predators. Often when they're playing and they're making noises, they're not actually realizing what's going on around them, and sometimes it can be a time when you'll find things like lions or leopards can often cream up onto them. So you'll always find one dog that stops and listens and just kind of makes sure that they are kind of keeping up with what's going on. But I'm so excited. It's been so long since I've seen wild dogs, and wild dogs have got to be one of the best animals to follow, particularly at this time of the morning. They're animals that really love to get going at this time, so to be able to find them now is absolutely amazing. Come on puppies, you've got to turn east now. The way that you're going is not a good way. Now, for those of you who have never seen wild dogs, there is a very, very, very pungent smell that is happening at the moment. I'm just going to try to pull forward a little bit just because there's a stump and I want Aubrey to be able to see. So I'm just going to go forward a little bit. Now, they have a very pungent smell. It's an interesting smell and one that's very difficult to actually sort of describe to you. But as you follow behind them, you'll find there's this kind of pungent, musty kind of smell that comes off them, and it is so typical. When you smell that smell, often if you're driving on the road, you get so excited because you know that the dogs must be close, and you can only smell it when they are close. So at the moment, it is very pungent as we follow in behind them. But look at how they're using those big ears. They're on the side of the roads. They're listening. Because they're quite short animals, they often can't see over the grass, and so they would then rather use those big ears to hear what's going on than to actually see what's going on. There we go. Now you'll notice each one is also different. There's patterns on all of them. You can see that there's some that are brighter than others. So, Michael, you're wondering when the wild dogs are denning, how far they're going to travel from the den in a day. Well, wild dogs are going to be starting to den shortly. For those of you who don't know, the wild dogs will den normally around May, June. And what happens is that they find an area, they'll have their puppies there, and then they are localized to that area. And generally, they won't travel more than 7 kilometers from that den. And every morning, they'll go in a different direction. And they end up making this kind of like star shape as they go away. And the reason why they do that is so that every time they go out, their success of hunting is probably better. If they kept going on the same route, you'll find animals are going to get very wary of these wild dogs every day and are not going to come into that area. So if they go every day in a different way, it means that they are, one, going to be able to find the food, and two, they're going to be able to stop things like hyenas and lions picking up that they're going to the same place every time and following them and then endangering their puppies. So that's why they tend to do that. But probably about 7 kilometers is the average, and that's from what I've picked up from a guy that I know very well, a friend of mine that studies the wild dogs in the Kruger. He says generally when they're denning, they don't move sort of more than 7 kilometers from the radius of that den. But he says sometimes they'll range a little bit further. Most days, funnily enough, they actually don't go anywhere near that sort of distance. Sometimes they only go in sort of 2-3 kilometers. Now, what is interesting with wild dogs is that a lot of people think that they are the most successful predator in terms of how many times they actually catch a prey item when hunting, and it's not actually that true. So this friend of mine was telling me that they did a study, and it basically turned out that the dogs had a success rate that was very similar to the cats. It's just that they chase so many more animals that they seem to, in a hunting session, be more successful. But in terms of an actual, every time they chase an animal, they're really actually not much more successful than the cats. It's just that they'll hunt so many more times in a hunting session than what, say, a lion or a leopard will. A lion will stalk a buffalo. If it misses, it then lies down, whereas dogs will chase 5 or 6 impala in their hunting session. So, Snouty Mom, yes, they do need to eat every day. The wild dogs have a very, very high oh, look, they're chasing something. They're busy chasing a scrub hare. I'm going to try see if I can't get in behind them here. This is where we need Connor and his drone, because it would be much easier. Now, they've gone into a thicket that I don't think we're going to be able to follow them into, but let's try. You can see one is running through here still. Now, this pack seems to love these scrub hares. Here we go, there's one coming back this way. Just want to see if the scrub hare pops out in front of us. No. I don't know if they missed it. I didn't hear anything. Often when they hunt things like scrub hares, you'll actually hear the kill happen. You'll hear a squeal of that animal, and that will be the end of it. Now, we've got one dog here. Another dog has just run from the back, and then there was a whole bunch that ran in there after the scrub hare. But this is why wild dogs are the best animals to follow. It's just always action-packed with them. They chase things all over the place. And like I was saying to you, now is the time of the day when they're looking to hunt. But look how amazing that light is on these guys as well. The sun has just risen, and it's just spectacular. Now, there is one more behind me. The rest are starting to come out, so they obviously missed the scrub hare. But wasn't that amazing just to see the scrub hare shooting in front of us, wild dogs in tow? And you can see, like I was saying just now, in terms of their actual success rate, they're not always the most successful as everybody thinks they are. There we go. Now, when you don't catch a scrub hare, you chase one another. I'm sure the rest will start filtering out of the bush. This is what happens, is once they've chased, then the rest of them all start to come back to the road, and they then try and find one another. Isn't that cool? Well, guys, you missed Endangered Species Day by a day, but it's still awesome to see you. Melissa, no, the wild dogs don't bark like domestic dogs, but just look at that light. Isn't that amazing? Look at all the colors that are coming off of that wild dog. Now, I've heard some people say that they are not pretty animals, but for me, I love their markings. They've got all these kind of mottled colors. Now, sorry, Melissa, I got a bit distracted there, but the wild dogs don't bark, no. They make a wooing sound when they're wanting to contact each other, and it's like a hollow, eerie sort of sound, and they'll go woo, 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 and that's how they'll contact one another. If they're very excited, then they start to squeal, but there's definitely no barking that takes place. They're not like domestic dogs in that regard. Now I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 now, so we've still got 3 that should be arriving shortly again and joining us. Oh, they're chasing that scrub here. You see that down the road? Now you've got to be watching when you chase after wild dogs, because they often just come out of the bush in front of you, but they were chasing a scrub hare down the road, so let's just try to see if we can't catch up with them. There we go, I think they caught it. They've caught it. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? Now that scrub hare was a full scrub hare 1 second ago. It's now finished. They were almost done with it. Each one is grabbing and getting its own piece. Now, for those of you that are sensitive viewers, I'm sorry about that. That was unfortunately what happens to a scrub hare in 1 minute with a pack of wild dogs. Isn't that insane? And just like that, it's all over. And you can see one of them has got most of the spoils. The rest are going to have to deal with the 1 or 2 little scraps. But this will not be enough to sustain a pack like this. They will just hunt that because the opportunity was there and they each could grab a piece. And what you'll find, as soon as they're finished with this, they're going to carry on. And the next thing will probably be something like an impala. That's what they're going to try and go for, because that will feed everybody really, really well. But wasn't that amazing? Didn't you see how fast those wild dogs can move? We must have been doing close to 40 kilometers an hour, and they were just coasting along. And as we got around the corner, they'd already grabbed that scrub hare. And as we came around, the scrub hare was actually a whole entity. But what happens is they all just grab and they pull because they're fighting over that nutrients. And when you've got a pack this size with a small animal like that, it means that they don't have this sort of chance to be able to eat peacefully, and that's why everybody just grabs a piece and off they go. And often the animal will actually die just from being dismembered. Now, it might sound like a horrible way to kill an animal, but actually the wild dogs are far more humane in the way that they kill something, because they basically grab it and the animal dies instantly, as opposed to when you find lion or leopard, where they'll sometimes actually eat the animal for long periods of time before it even dies. Now, what's come along? Oh, it's more wild dogs. Now, hopefully they're going to greet one another. Look, they're all coming towards us. Isn't this amazing? Now, this is just them greeting. I'm sorry, I've got the bar in the way. It's just they're running all around us, and I actually don't have any space to maneuver. And there you can see the rising sun as well. Isn't this incredible? Wow, what a way to start the day. We are being absolutely spoiled. Look at that golden sunlight as well. That is so, so special. Can you hear them as well? So those are those squeaks that I was talking about, and whines that you'll sometimes hear. And that's because they're now fighting over one of those legs of the scrub hare, unfortunately. So, John, you're wondering about the social hierarchy and how kind of dogs work and what the sort of pack logistics are. Well, basically we have an alpha male and female, and then there'll be a secondary ranking female underneath that. That's the beta female, and then the rest of the pack files in. They're not necessarily related to one another. What you will find is that there is often quite a big distribution between wild dogs, and you'll find young males, young females will often leave packs and join other packs or start their own packs, and so it's not always a family of individuals that are all related. Sometimes you will have other bloodlines within the pack itself, but there is an alpha male and an alpha female, and they will dictate what goes on. And funny enough, they're the only two that will breed. So I was talking earlier about the wild dogs denning, and that's what happens with these wild dogs, is that the male alpha and female will be able to breed, and they will have their young ones. Sometimes you'll get a secondary female breeding, so that would be the beta female, and it depends on the alpha and the availability of food. If there's a lot of food available, then you'll find that alpha female will allow the beta female to raise her pups, and they'll be able to then feed them. If they start to come into difficult times where they're battling to find food, you'll find that sometimes she will even kill those beta females puppies just to make sure that hers survive. So it really is quite a sort of monarchy society, and it's those two, well, alpha society should we say, and those two are the ones that really dominate, and the whole clan will do everything just for the wild dog, for the puppies, should I say. So everybody will work together to keep those alphas on top and to make sure that they are the ones that are looked after and their young are looked after first. So it's quite an amazing system, and that's why the sort of numbers of wild dogs are decreasing, is because even though we've got a big pack here, there's 10 animals, you would think that multiple animals here could breed. No, there will only probably be one female that breeds from this, and then they all collectively try and help and look after these dogs, the puppies. So it's a very difficult sort of breeding strategy, and the other side of it is they've got a high mortality rate. So over 50% of the puppies will die naturally within the first year, which means that a lot of these sort of numbers crash. But this dog in the middle, in front here, is got to be one of the most beautiful wild dogs I've seen. Look at the whites on it, around its bum area. It's got the most incredible pattern. Very, very cool. They're such amazing animals. I can't tell you how incredible it is to watch them kind of go about their business. As you can see, nothing is slow with them. Everything is a bounce and a run and a trot. ZDZ, you're wondering why wild dogs are endangered. Well, it's because the wild dogs, unfortunately, have a very slow breeding pattern, and so at the end of the day, they only the alpha male and female are breeding, combined with the fact that they have a high mortality rate. Over 50% of the dogs do die, and then you'll find also that they've lost a lot of habitat. Dogs require massive areas to move around in. They're not animals that can kind of just move around in small spaces, and so they go into big areas. And a lot of Africa, we've had a lot of issues with encroachment into those reserves, and because wild dogs are such successful predators, it means that they are, unfortunately, a lot of them get killed and poisoned by farmers, because contrary to what people believe, wild dogs actually can sometimes scavenge. So they are not always killing for themselves. They do sometimes pick up pieces of meat as they go past them, and so it means that a lot of them have been shot and poisoned and all kinds of things, because farmers you can imagine, if a farmer's got a whole bunch of sheep and a pack of wild dogs comes in, that's the end of that sort of flock of sheep. They're going to eat everything. They'll come into at night or in a morning like this, and they'll kill multiple ones, and so their numbers have been lost through that. They're also very susceptible to disease, so they've become susceptible to canine distemper and rabies, and as communities have come onto the fringes of these areas, so they have ended up causing an issue where there's dogs that are coming into contact with these wild dogs, and the wild dogs are then getting rabies, canine distemper, and it's affecting their population. Now, look at this, isn't this amazing? They're just running in this golden light in front of us. Now, I'm just trying to pull over so some of the cars behind us can also see, but that is so cool. They are being backlit, and unfortunately for us, though, it's going to be all of about 2 minutes, and they are going to be crossing to the north and out of our area. So we've had a very special morning with them already, but unfortunately, I think that's going to be it. And there you go, you can see them trotting. Now, hopefully they'll stick on the boundary just for a few seconds so we can actually get to see them. Unfortunately as well, the area that we're going to, the signal is not very good, so we might have a few sort of breakups in the picture and a bit of stuttering, so I do apologize about that, but hopefully they'll carry on up the boundary and then we'll be okay. But there we go. Isn't this amazing? Look at this light and this grass color with the dogs in it. Such a special scene. It looks like they might just trot east. There is a big dam ahead of us. Now, wild dogs are very big exponents of water. And I say that because what they'll often do is they'll chase animals, and animals will often try and get to water for safety. But a wild dog knows that, and so they'll often chase towards water holes, and then they just surround the water hole, and then it becomes a patience game, and they literally will try and wait that prey animal, and they'll just sit on the edge and they'll just trot round and round and round and round, and they wait for this sort of animal to fatigue, and the animal tries to escape, and then they often get it. So they will often do this. Sometimes, unfortunately, they chase into places like Chitwa Dam, which is never the best place to chase anything because the crocodiles snap up all your food. But I have seen them chasing impalas into dams where they've exhausted that impala so much that the impala eventually dies of a heart attack from swimming itself to death. And it's a horrible thing to watch, but once the animal then died, they can then go in and retrieve it. So hillbilly safari, and you're wondering if the heart of a wild dog is larger to enable it to sort of get more blood flow on these hunts than a domestic dog. I'm not 100% sure. I will have to find out for you. I don't know. I've never read anything about it saying that is the case. Could be quite possible, but I have a feeling it's more to do with the fact that these dogs are almost fit animals. So they like us as people. They've just trained a lot more and they do a lot more than a domestic dog, and therefore they're able to sustain themselves for long periods of time. But I've never heard anything about the heart being bigger. Now I'm just trying to get to another part where we can see them, because they have. So I'm going to try to just get up this hill a bit. You should be able to have a long distance view of them. But it's interesting. I would imagine that there must be some sort of, maybe the muscle in the heart is thicker, and that therefore means it pumps better and pumps blood faster. It's an interesting thing. I'll have to try and find out for you and see. But I haven't heard anything about that. Now, from where we are now, we should be able to just see them starting to come towards the dam here. This is what I was talking about. So we're at Sydney's dam, and they're just behind this thicket, but they are slowly moving towards the dam itself. So I'm hoping they will pop out, but unfortunately that's in all likelihood going to be the last view we have of the wild dogs, is them going into the distance. But wasn't that an action-packed way to start the morning? I can't believe wild dogs are one of my favorites. It's such an epic thing to start with, and to see and to watch and see the chaos that sort of reigns with wild dogs. And you can see, even though they've eaten the scrub here, most other predators would have started to just calm down and would have taken it easy. Not the wild dogs. The wild dogs are now in full flow. They're still looking for food. That wasn't nearly enough to sustain them, and so now they're carrying on and trying to find other animals to hunt. And I was actually hoping that we would see some impala in these open clearings. Often when we come in the morning, these open sections are covered in impalas, and I was hoping that there would be some, and the dogs would spot them, and we'd see them chasing them around here and trying to see if they would then catch something. Right, now it's time to introduce you to all the other members of the pack this morning. So let's go across to James so he can say hello.
What a very good joke, ha 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 ha. And of course, if you've been spending the morning with wild dogs, then you are full of good cheer and humour. My name is James Hendry, and you are welcome to this part of the morning safari. We are on foot, in this case on foot on a termite mound. Safari Live is how you get hold of us. That is on Twitter, of course. Jamie is knocking about here somewhere. I think she's got a couple of vehicle issues though. So we are going to be walking down that. By we, I mean Herbert and Fergus and I. We are going to be wandering down towards the south to follow some leopard tracks. We think he's probably crossed south, but we'll find other interesting things as we go. What a spectacular morning we have had so far, beginning with the great wild dogs. We, of course, came scuttling onto here on quarantine as soon as we heard about them, and we thought that perhaps they would come down towards quarantine clearings, but alas they did not. They have now gone into Buffelshoek, which was deeply unpleasant and unkind of them to do. Anyway, we've had a wonderful morning standing here. We watched 7 nyalas walking past in a line, 7 bull nyalas that is. There we go. I was not very agile this morning. 7 bull nyalas wandering across the gorgeous golden light, but unfortunately we didn't manage to show them to you because you were looking at dogs, which of course you should have been doing. Violet, I think you're wondering if wild dogs would attack us on foot. Is that correct? Violet, they would not attack us on foot. In fact, just down there you can see the land falling away into a small dip, and it goes up the other side about, well, when was it? It was probably about a year ago, it must have been. Yeah, I can't remember exactly when. About a year ago, I was on walk, and we had a spectacular experience with a wild dog pack that came running past us on the road. We were sitting just waiting for them to come, and the adults took one look at us and just carried on going, and the pups stopped and looked at us, and one stopped sort of between where the camera is now and me, which is about a meter, and looked around, and then one went around the back and smelt and sniffed, and then they just carried on going. They don't see people as prey, they see us as a threat. But once they become adults, they actually just get on with their lives. You can view them on foot quite successfully, and they'll habituate to you being on foot around them very quickly. Unfortunately, because they range so widely, though, we don't see them very often. on foot, and that's just a pity, and so we don't get to habituate them quite like we'd like to. Jamie has got something that looks a little bit, I suppose, like a wild dog, but it isn't a wild dog. In fact, it is not a dog at all.
It is not a dog at all. It is a spotted hyena enjoying her breakfast. A very good morning to all of you and welcome on what has been so far a truly exciting sunrise safari. And we are continuing along a very similar vein. Since every time I've been to the hyena den in the recent past, it has been completely quiet. And now we've got a hyena enjoying what looks like might be a buffalo leg. I'm not 100% sure. It's a little bit manky. My name is Jamie, and this morning, for the first time in a long time, I have Jean-Dre on camera with me, and we're sitting at the hyena den. Don't forget to send through your questions. We've got such perfect examples of two top predators this morning. Don't forget to send through your questions. Let me duck my head out of the way on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. And hopefully the presence of the crunching will encourage... Oh, here comes another hyena. Hello, hello. Where have you come from? I'm not going to reposition now. I think this hyena will make itself visible in a bit. Because Ribbon is actually quite skittish. Come on. Don't you want to go and investigate? Alright, let's move forward because we can't see anything. Hopefully Ribbon is quite tolerant. She hasn't lifted her head, so I think we're okay. Watch the way that this interaction plays out, but Tristan won't have those dogs for much longer. Let's go back to him.
Well, I don't know. We might be getting lucky here. The dogs look like they're turning and maybe, just maybe, might be coming back towards our side. So we might have a longer filled morning of wild dogs. They just went to go and drink there, and you can see they're starting to come back the same way that they went in. The problem is that they often go from there, they go around the camp and then into the Manyeleti. So this is the last dog that I can see. The rest have all started coming back this way, and I'm hoping that they will indeed come to where we are and we'll be able to carry on our morning with these amazing creatures. And I know Jamie's with hyenas, and I wonder if the hyenas maybe didn't steal something from the dogs already this morning. They don't look as though they've fed too much. Their bellies are not massive, but maybe it's possible. Some of the most amazing sort of encounters that I've ever had with wild animals is wild dogs and hyenas. They absolutely loathe each other, and the sort of chaos that ensues. So, World of Stacy, you said you were wondering about wild dogs and hyenas. Well, it's absolute chaos. They will chase each other around. There is squealing, there is whooping, there is just huge amounts of commotion. And often what you'll find is as soon as the wild dogs start to squeak and start to carry on after they've killed something, when they get excited, then the hyenas come in and then there's just chaos. They're just chasing each other, biting, lots of sound. It's craziness, and it's always such a spectacular event to watch hyenas and wild dogs go after one another. It's just amazing, and literally you can't even catch your breath. It's just chaos all around you. So it is sort of arch enemies, and they do go at one another, so you have to be a little bit kind of, well, not we have to be anything, but if you're a wild dog you have to be a bit careful, and if you're a hyena you also don't want to be caught on your own with a pack like this, because the pack will work together and they bite all over the hyena. And I've seen many hyena get a absolute hiding from wild dogs, as I have seen wild dogs get hidings from hyenas. So it depends on the day and how many of each there is. It's a numbers game when it comes to these two, but they do often kind of interact, and you'll find hyenas a lot of the time will be the winners, because more and more arrive with the sort of excited chatter and the whooping of the others. That will attract more clan members, and soon there's enough hyenas to dominate the wild dogs, and they'll then steal the carcass away. So it is quite interesting. But you can see that they're still just milling around in that morning light. Now I know it's quite far away, but I'm just hoping that they start to move this way. Sometimes you'll find with dogs is that they kind of start milling around after they've killed something and had water, and then they drink, and I'm hoping that from there they start coming across this clearing and using the roads to carry on their morning sort of hunt and the morning movements. There is some wildebeest unfortunately north of us that we're alarm calling, so I wonder if they maybe aren't going to head that way and try and their luck at wildebeest. It's very seldom here in the Sabi Sands that they do hunt wildebeest, but other parts of the world, that's one of their main sort of prey animals is a wildebeest. A wildebeest is a big animal, and it's a really tough animal to be able to bring down. And so here in the Sabi Sands, it's much easier to hunt things like impalas and those scrub hares and duikers and steenboks than to go after really big animals. And actually I had a sighting, it was last year, that wild dogs were trying to kill a baby wildebeest, and the big male got involved, and the male wildebeest came in and he hit one of the dogs with his horns and threw the wild dog into the air, and the wild dog landed, and then he started horning this wild dog, and he actually managed to impale it and cause this massive injury on a wild dog, and then ground it down into the ground for a while. And luckily then another wild dog bit this male wildebeest, and he kind of ran and left that dog, and the dog survived. It is still alive today, but it was just the most insane scene, and it was around sort of sunset, and there was, during that drought period, there was just dust everywhere and dog flying through the air. It was really quite insane. And so you can see why wild dogs for us as presenters and guides are such amazing animals, because it's just always excitement. Oh hi Bacon, I love your Twitter handle. It's always a good one, but it makes us hungry too early in the morning. But yes, the wild dogs do go after baby zebras. I have seen them kill a baby zebra before. So they'll go after anything that they can outmuscle. So you'll find they'll go after baby zebra, baby wildebeest. I've seen them harassing baby elephants before. I've seen them trying their luck with a baby rhino once before. So anything that they can really kind of get close to and try and sort of outmuscle, then they will do that. But generally they know that the elephants, buffalo, rhinos, those are all animals that are far too powerful for them, and so they try and sort of avoid them as much as possible. But they do sometimes have a go. I've seen them also go after baby buffalo, and in fact there was a pack last year in the drought period when the buffalo were very, very weak, and we saw a lot of buffalo dying in sort of September, October. There was a pack of dogs that was over 30, and they were going after sub-adult buffalo every single day. So they were managing to pull down these sort of 2-year-old buffalo, which is insane if you think about it. A small little animal like this bringing down those strong buffalo was really quite something. So they are adaptable animals, and they'll go after whatever they need to survive. But I'm so thankful that they've stopped. There's a little waterhole there that they're drinking from, and they at least have allowed us to carry on viewing them for a while longer. Anna Marie, you wondering if they could take down a warthog? Yes, they can. I've seen them take down a few warthogs in my time. They can also get chased around by warthogs. I've seen a pack of dogs in the Kruger getting chased by a big male warthog, but they do hunt them quite a lot, and they do have quite a bit of success with warthogs. The problem with a warthog is they've got to be careful of those tusks, and warthogs are not animals that lie down easily. They will fight back as much as they can, and so you find the dogs, while they do hunt them a lot, here where we are in the Sabi Sands, there's much easier animals to hunt than that. When you go into other areas where maybe there's less sort of variety, and there's also less numbers of things like impalas, you'll find they do go after warthogs. I know in the Savuti and in parts of Botswana, warthog is definitely high up in the menu, and they go after them very, very regularly, and they'll have a lot of success with those warthogs. So it is a definite sort of item on the list for prey animals. And like I say, wild dogs will literally go after anything. If they can outmuscle it and use the pack to outweigh and be able to bring it down, then they'll go after it. It's much like any predator. They're not too choosy. They'll try and get whatever they can to survive. Now I think that's it. I think they've decided to depart. They've had their drink. You can see they're all running off now, and they're going straight north towards Manyeleti. So that's the end of that, I'm afraid. But what a way to start the day. Spectacular. And thank you, wild dogs, for your entertainment this morning. And there you go. There's the last little set of ears disappearing through the bush, and over the dam wall they'll go and into Manyeleti. So I think that's it for us this morning. But how amazing was that? Now I know it's not for everybody when they run around and chase animals, but it definitely is exciting and chaotic. Right. Now we're going to carry on in our morning and try and see what else we can find, because it seems like it's been a good start so far. And while we do that, Jamie has got their mortal enemy, the hyena.
I do have the mortal enemy of the wild dogs. And Tristan, I would say that you've had a good start to the morning. It's been quite a spectacular start, I would say. We are still with Ribbon, and I've changed my mind about what she's eating. I think she's eating a wildebeest leg. And actually that makes far more sense, because I don't know where on earth she would have even managed to find a buffalo to eat one. So she's scavenging off something that she's... You know, that famous old tale in all of the old textbooks, spotted hyenas don't bring food back to the den site. Big to differ. We're right here. She hasn't brought it back for the cubs, though. This is purely for her. And that male that trotted through earlier took one look at her and decided that actually he wasn't going to even begin to try and come between her and her leg of something. Which is very typical spotted hyena behavior. The males are always subservient to the females. Look at that. Look at the power of her jaw. You can actually see the marrow inside that bone. And you understand why hyenas are adapted to do what they do, in the way that they have that powerful, powerful jaw that can... Look at that. Imagine the bite force required to do that. And now lapping up all of the good stuff that's in the long bones. She'd eaten away all of the meat on the side, and now she's crunched right into the center. And the long bones, of course, of all animals, all mammals, producing red blood cells, white blood cells to a certain degree. So that marrow is so full of nutrients, and now she's lapping it up. And really, only a lion, I think, would have been able to snap open that bone in the way that she just did. It's quite a thin bone. She's looking, listening, making sure that her food is not going to be touched by anybody else. We heard them whooping earlier. That's why we rushed through to the hyena den. And now we sit and wait patiently for Ribbon to finish off her meal, and then hopefully go and call out at least one cub, if not both cubs. You never know. I remember sitting in den sites before and only seeing one cub for days at a time, and then all of a sudden the second cub made an appearance. I'm still not 100% convinced that Ribbon's lost her second cub. I'm waiting to see. Would have expected to move den sites. Oh, listen to the bone snapping. Personally, I think Ribbon's a very pretty hyena. She's a good-looking girl. Right, we're struggling a little bit. Fight them off, send you across to James.
I am going to give Fergus a tremendously horrible task to try and film the most upset crowned lapwings in all the land as they fly across the blue vault that is hanging over quarantine clearings. They have been so angry with each other, flying around the top of our heads. Oh! They almost got each other there. Naturally, as you've come to us, they're calming down. It is astounding how quickly it is warming up here. It was deeply, deeply unpleasantly cold this morning, I felt. But now that wonderful feeling of the African sun on one's back is starting to sort of fill my body with a sense of very great joy. Yes. Right, let's continue. What was I going to say? I was going to tell you something of vital importance, I seem to remember. Oh yes, that is the tracks of Tingana, the male leopard that we had calling around here naturally at 4 o'clock and then again at 5 o'clock, but as soon as anyone got in a car, he started going to the south. And so we're going to try and follow up on those. I am pretty sure that he has crossed south, as I said, I think a little bit earlier, but we might be lucky. We might not. Who knows? Now, we also yesterday had an experience, well, I didn't, Tristan did, And I was most surprised to hear about it, of about 200 of those milkweed locusts that had somehow come out of the ground. And Herbert was saying to me today, why has this happened? Why have they suddenly come out? Surely they shouldn't be here. And I would have thought, that the breeding season for these locusts was over. But I think we might find, as we go into the winter, if we get these warm days, remember that heat is not a limiting factor out here. Water is a limiting factor, and we've had late rain. I think we're going to find that there are quite a few species that pop up and do a little kind of second breeding cycle during the year. Most of these species, as far as I understand it, will have one breeding cycle, so none of them will actually see through a whole year. The grasshoppers will become adults, lay their eggs. Those eggs will remain dormant for the course of the winter time, and then they'll hatch again in the summer. But sometimes, obviously, if conditions are really good, then they will produce 2 loads of babies. I was thinking that this might be an interesting flower, but I think it's just our good old pal Waltheria. But maybe it's a different Waltheria species. This one is not delivering greatly in terms of animal life. And then there's another white flower here, which I feel like I have found out before, but have now forgotten. Very pretty white flower with a very square stem. Isn't that lovely? That under the microscope would look absolutely spectacular. Deep green, snowy white, and lovely copper-coloured anthers. I'll try and figure out what it is while I do that. Let us go back across to Jamie and the animals that are the same colour as the anthers on this flower.
They are a beautiful colour as far as I'm concerned. I would have loved to have shown you that hyena, but unfortunately it has now disappeared. And there it goes down the road. Completely alone. I don't think it was a male. I think it was another female. Left Ribbon and allowed her to finish off her meal, which she's still tucking into with great relish. We've been spoilt this morning. Exciting news. The guys have not going to give away a surprise. Is really making his way there, so I'm not going to tell you what the surprise might be. As for Tingana, I was trying to track him, but unfortunately our vehicle's playing up a little bit this morning. The gremlins have jumped in the back with us. But we're very fortunate to have hyena activity at the den once again. I would have expected her cub to be out and curious about what Mum's doing. That's what I would have expected. With the crunching of the bone, she's here. There's no sign of them emerging. I would have thought that curiosity, obviously they're not old enough yet to eat meat, but they might chew on something just to explore it. But perhaps the whoops of the male that I heard earlier frightened the cubs back into the den site. Now, Canadian Emily, you want to know if Ribbon will bring other kills to the cubs. The answer to that is yes, potentially, but not just yet. For now, this kill is for her. In a couple of months' time, if she still has this den site all to herself, or whichever den site she happens to be, then yes, she might absolutely bring bits of a kill back for the cubs to feed on. Typically, the literature suggests that it's high-ranking females that bring food back, rather than low-ranking females, and Ribbon is not particularly high up, as far as we know, in terms of the clan's hierarchy. But there's no reason why, if she's on her own, she wouldn't. I also think a lot of that literature comes from situations outside of the Sabi Sand spotted hyena, and I think that behavior is very different between, say, the hyenas of Botswana, the hyenas of East Africa, where Brent was telling me there's a clan of 80, and our somewhat smaller clans in this area. I imagine that their behavior there'll be subtle differences in their behavior as well. So yes, I would say it's entirely possible. Ken, the question that we often get asked, because of course hyenas look like dogs, don't they? Now, Ken would like to know, hyenas are part of what family? And the answer to that is they're part of their own family. They're part of the Hyenidae family. So the Hyenidae family split. It forms under, what does it fall under? The suborder Filiformes. So it is in the same suborder as cats are, which means that in terms of evolution they are closer to cats than they are to dogs, but actually technically are probably closer to things like mongoose or something along those lines, because they do have very well developed anal glands like the mongoose and the badgers and so on. Actually not mongoose, sorry, but something like a badger or a wolverine. So they fall into their own family. It's the Hyenidae family, and in this area there's 3 members of the Hyenidae family: the spotted hyena, the brown hyena, and the aardwolf, who's kind of like the black sheep of the family. The aardwolf is a smallish looking hyena with stripes that doesn't have the same jaw strength as a perfect demonstration. Thanks, Ribbon, that was delicious looking. As its spotted or brown hyena cousins. It's an insect eater. I've seen one once in Manuleti, and apparently other people have seen tracks of them around this area. I don't know. I don't think an aardwolf has ever been seen on these live safaris. But they do occur here. Good question from Oh Hi Bacon, who would like to know if the baby's jaws are strong enough to eat crunch bone as well. Not really, not yet. That doesn't mean that their jaws aren't particularly strong, and I certainly wouldn't suggest putting your finger near any of them, because I'm pretty sure they could still, potentially for a thin digit, they could probably break your finger if they wanted to bite it. So they do have strong jaws, but it's not at the point where they're able to crack open proper thick bones yet. They might be able to nibble, scrape away at the side, but that's pretty much all that they'll be able to do. And they don't need to be able to yet. The spotted hyenas have such an extended period of lactation. You can see she's still, well, you can't see now, but I was able to see a moment ago that she was still lactating. So she's still producing milk, which is typical. She could probably go on to produce milk for another year, maybe even longer, depending on the conditions of her environment. And there we go. That leads us very neatly onto Marcy's question, which is how old hyenas are when they start to eat meat. Marcy, they'll start to nibble at... There's another hyena. I think it's the same one. It's just doing loops around us. Very hard to tell in the sunlight exactly who that is. I think that's a male. Looking at the size, a full-grown male, but a male nevertheless. Lurking around Ribbon, waiting for an opportunity to come and snuffle up what she leaves behind. So the cubs will start nibbling on solid food at about 6 to 8 months, and they could actually only be fully weaned at about 1.5 years, potentially, depending on the rank of their mothers. Lower-ranking mothers will often take their cubs to the kill, whereas higher-ranking mothers will bring food back more regularly to the den site itself. Oh, you're sneaking up. Hyenas are very, very good at lurking when there's food available. Whether it's lions, whether it's leopards, or if it is another hyena that they know they won't be able to get the food from, they patiently wait and they circle around and around and around. We've seen it so often with leopards, with lion kills. Hyena makes an appearance, checks it out, goes away for a bit, comes back, checks up on all the goings on around it. Not doing anything, just keeping the perfect distance so that Ribbon doesn't feel at all threatened. And she just lifted her head a moment ago. I'm actually going to try and just shuffle back ever so slightly so that we've at least got a view of her head. Sorry, Ribbon. Chandra, will you shout if the tree's getting in your way? That should be good. Here we go, as long as I move my head out of your way. We've had a viewer ask before why we always duck when we see the animals. It's because our heads get in the way of the camera. Not because we're desperately frightened and diving for cover. You can see she's got a scar on her neck. And I noticed a couple of months ago, when I first started coming to this den site, that she also had a massive bite wound on her bottom. That's most likely from the other hyenas. I think that there's a good chance that she's not particularly high up in the food chain. It'd be interesting to know exactly where she stands, because each and every hyena cub, when it's born, inherits its mother's status, but that's not an absolute. It doesn't necessarily stay exactly that way for their entire lives, and there can be some shifting around in terms of the clan's hierarchy. So it might be that she hasn't inherited Corky status. It might be that she's got quite a submissive personality, and she's fallen quite low in the clan food chain. Our hillbilly safarian, that's also a question that people often ask. You want to know, how do hyenas eat bone without puncturing their intestines? Almost all predators can eat bone. Your dog at home can eat raw bones, provided they're not cooked. Your dog can chew on shards of bone, because bone in its uncooked state is actually quite soft. It doesn't form sharp shards in the way that cooked chicken does. Of course, we all know that you've got to keep your pets far away from cooked bones and from cooked chicken bones. But all animals can eat bones. It doesn't form shards. It looks like it forms shards, but it's nothing dangerous. Don't go that way. But then also remember that hyena have very, very strong stomach acid that essentially dissolves everything that comes into contact with it. Oh, Ribbon, that's not the way I wanted you to go at all. Not that that's your problem. Don't even know where she's gone. Can you see her there, Chandra? No, come back this way. What about your cub? She's probably already fed her cubs this morning. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds just to see if she returns this way. And while I do, James is still hot on the heels of Tingana.
We are hot on the heels, everybody, but as Herbert says, these tracks are steaming, but he's walked down this road at some speed, and at least an hour ago. The leopard can go a long way in an hour. Jamie's just in here. You can see those marula trees over there, and knobthorn trees. She's just under those, so we're kind of sneaking by there. And maybe Ribbon will pop out and say hello to us on foot, which would be very nice of her. But for the moment, we're going to keep going down to the south. I'm just trying to find you a nice track. I know that you've seen leopard tracks very often, but someone has driven over here on their way to try and find him. And I think it was Jamie actually, and she turned and came back again to the hyena den. So I'll keep trying to find you a decent looking track, but he's a good sized male Tingana. I don't think he's the biggest. Many people will describe him as a big male leopard. Well, he's a male leopard, good sized male. We're just going to go up onto the termite mound and see what we could see from there, but let's quickly have a look here. This is that hare's tail plant that I've shown you often before that looks so fluffy, but you can see as it starts to dry, or just drying out, and as it starts to desiccate, you can see those very nasty, horrid little spikes, which can cause a great deal of distress and pain to one's fingers and one's feet. And if you get one of those stuck in your socks, you'll be in pain for days. And also, what we'll do at this level, as soon as you get down to this level, of course, things start to happen. Focus, if you swing slowly towards the sun, just don't move back at all. Just follow me. Don't come any closer. I'm going to point with my stick. There's a hare's tail plant here, And just on it is a butterfly waking up in the sun. Can you see him? You got him there? I just don't want my shadow to cross him because he'll move. You got him, yes, you have got him.
We're having a couple of camera issues.
And that is an acrea of some description. I don't think it's our common spotted acrea that we've been seeing quite a lot of. And it will be completely immobile now, unable to function in weather like this, and it's got itself on the wrong side of this plant because it's shadowed from the sun, and it will need the sun to warm up and get the hemolymph pumping through its body so it can start to fly off and find the last little bits of nectar that there will be in the flowers around here. Minuscule droplets of nectar that it will find and look for. And can you see the fly behind it, folks? It's on the same plant, just slightly behind. It's a sort of starling coloured blue, also suffering from the same issue. You might be able to come around here and actually get a better view of it. It's actually really quite pretty. I hate terming flies pretty because, you know, they are bringers of disease and great irritation. Can you see it there? That's really very nice. In the background I can hear a woodpecker tapping away, bearded woodpecker. Marvellous. The world is just waking up here. In fact, it's not just waking up, it's now fully awake and getting on with the business of morning living. Good. Let's wander up onto this termite mound and see what we can spot from there. I'll just see if I can't see Tingana from the top here. You know, maybe he'll be just the other side. No, I cannot see Tingana, but I can see Herbert down the way. And so while we catch up with him, we'll hand you over to the dog whisperer himself and find out what he's whispering now.
Well, I don't know if we're a dog whisperer. It seems the dog ran away from us, James, but we are trying to whisper shadowy secrets and hope that Shadow comes out, because on our right hand side we can see her tracks over here. So if you have a look there on the road, there's tracks coming down for this female, and that is got to be Shadow. Where we are now can only be Shadow. Craig, can you see them? No. Okay, Craig, let me show you where they are. Hopefully they're not too close. Can you see these ones here, Craig? There we go, there's one. No, too close. This one, Craig? We must be able to see that one. Not really. Okay, well, part of it. Sorry, I've parked too close. Craig, let me move my car so that you can see them nicely, and that I'm not obscuring the track with my car. I thought we would be far enough away. My fault entirely. Hold on 2 seconds. But so Shadow is obviously walking around in this area, and these tracks are quite fresh because we're on one of the main roads, and so that means that, there we go. Is that better, Craig? Alright, so there you can see the front, well, both of those are front paws. There's probably a clearer one there. There's this sort of toes in front, and then the pad at the back of the circle there. And they're going down in a southerly direction, and it looks like there was tracks for the cub as well, cutting into Arathusa. So we're going to try and see if we can't whisper Shadow out of the thickets, and hopefully we'll get lucky with maybe the cub and Shadow herself. Now what's that lying on the left there? There's a bit of litter. So, Lebombo Girl and Dalim, you're wondering who the largest leopard is in our traverse area. Now, I'm going to tell you in 2 seconds. I just want to pick up this litter quickly. But basically, if we had to consider all of the leopards that we can see, the biggest one in this area is Anderson. So Anderson male is by far the biggest, followed by Tingana, and then I would say probably Djuma after that. And those are the three biggest boys that we have out here. In terms of the girls, Salahesh is the biggest female leopard that we have. So those are the sort of big guys. Shadow, Tundi, they're all quite small, petite little leopards. They're not very, very big in terms of females. Tiani is going to be massive. In fact, Tiani is almost bigger than Shadow. Now, somebody's calling me on the radio, so just hold on 2 seconds. Go ahead. No, they're not calling me again. Sorry. So I don't think they can hear me. Anyway, it's okay. Arathusa's radio comms are not always the best, so sometimes can't hear the guys too much. What I'm hoping is that these leopards are going to be making their way towards sort of Red Dam. That's an area that they often hang around, and yesterday I was here with Tingana and we had tracks for Shadow and Cub all in this area, so hopefully they're somewhere around here. Now, we're going to try and see if we can't find these leopards, and while we do that, I believe Jamie has got an upright walking primate, and I wonder if it's the same old doddery one I saw the other day.
I've got 3 upright walking primates, and I have no idea which one Tristan might be referring to, and I refuse to say anything further on the subject. There we go, there's the walk team. Herbie on the left, Mr. Henry in the middle, obviously with the slightly manic grin. Oh my word, that's terrifying. It's like something out of a Stephen King novel. Now they're both like something out of a Stephen King novel. That is terrifying. And poor Fergus looking... I'm not sure if it's contagious. I'm pretty sure it is contagious. It's hilarious. That was like something out of It. That facial expression. Right. Well, we're going to leave the maniacs to go about their morning walk. Unfortunately, we can't. The way that Jig is acting up this morning, I don't think we can go. It's the name of the vehicle, by the way. Jig Jag. And the way that she's acting up, I don't think we're going to make it into the Mulwati. So we've just got to keep our fingers crossed that Tingana comes out of said river and up somewhere a little bit higher. But there are 2 people tracking him, so I don't feel too bad about leaving the area. We'll go off in search of something else. I'm not sure what that something else will be yet. Where would you like to go, Gendre? Within reason, because there's only so many places I can go. You can choose between Zoe's Road and Quarantine. Somewhere warm. Okay. The Bahamas. Yes. I'm not sure that we're up to that on 1 tank of gas. You never know. We could try. Mozambique isn't too far. You're right, Lou. If I drive that way for a while, could hit Mozambique. And get arrested, but I don't think I have my passport on me. I don't generally take my passport on game drive. Not usually my plan to run away into a foreign country. It's probably warm. Go lie on the beach. Yes, I think trying to get into the Kruger would be the problem. I think we'd be in big trouble. Okay, so we've come to the conclusion that Gendre, we can't run away to a warmer climate. It's actually not that bad. It's really not that bad. We'll go sit in the sun at Treehouse Dam and then we'll be happy. And there's elephant tracks, so you never know. We might find them here. River never came back, by the way. She just walked further away. I sat for a little bit and then moved off because we don't really sit at the hyena den when there's no mother there. But I'm very, very confused as to why that cub didn't come out. Why would she have moved them and then feed there? Okay. So, we're going to go off in search of a warm patch on Zoe's Road and send you over to James while we do.
We are currently trying to follow up on some tracks that now have been called in of Shongile, and we've heard birds' alarm calling around to the north of where I'm now standing, so we'll go and see if we can't find some tracks there. Of course, this becomes a little bit like a stuck record when we say, oh, we've got tracks here, tracks there, tracks this, tracks that, but that's basically how it goes until the uber frustrating process of looking turns into the uber satisfying process of watching. Here is a tree called Scotia brachypetala, and Scotia brachypetala, or the weeping boerbean, is what Herbert describes as the perfect leopard tree, and yet he says, why do they not come to this tree and sit in it for us? He says he's never seen a leopard in this tree, and I don't think I have either. I have climbed it, but that was before this ziziphus grew up here and made it impossible to climb. That's really interesting, actually. I've just noticed this. So it must have been about a year ago that I climbed this tree and sat up top there, and I did an opening from the top. And it's now completely impossible to climb because of the ziziphus tree, which means that the ziziphus has grown from this probably little stump here into a full-size tree. I mean, that's a good 2.5, 3 meters tall in about a year. I think that's really impressive growth rate out here. And as we consider or reflect on time, it is time for me, of course, to wish myself a very happy 2-year anniversary at Wild Earth, because most of you, of course, forgot. I don't know, I just had to do this myself. I expected to wake up with endless congratulations and, numerous tweets and Instagram screenshots of my career here at Wild Earth for the last 2 years. I expected to be greeted with coffee in bed and perhaps a freshly steaming muffin. What did I get? Nothing. No, nothing but coldness. Nothing but, why are you late? Get on with your job kind of thing this morning. It was really distressing. Anyway, that's how it is here. The world of commerce and the commercial world that we live in now. There's just no time for sentiment. Come on, Fergus. Messing around then. Let's carry on. See if we can find this leopard. Fergus is now stuck on the termite mound trying to make a steady picture. Now, I will tell you that the one flower that I really lacked or missed this year, other than those that were supposed to be given to me today for the achievement of my 2 years, 24 months, is this. And this is the tree wisteria, or Bolusanthus speciosus. And I didn't see any purple wisteria flowers this year. Now, if you come gently around this way, Fergus, you'll see a very alarmed-looking version of Polyrachus the ant. Do you see her there?
I do see Polly.
Now, Polly is very nervous to move because Polly is very cold. And Polly, unfortunately, is probably afraid on account of the cold, not so much because you are such an intimidating fellow, Fergus. There she is. Now, it is my understanding that Tristan has managed to come off standby 1, and he's probably moving into the sighting of Shadow and her little cub.
We are indeed. This is so exciting, and what a way to have a Saturday start. We have Shadow and the little cub here. Now, I haven't seen the cub yet. I've only seen Shadow. We're just waiting to try get through this thicket. It is very, very dense in here, so I'm trying to just see if we can't find her. Now, Shadow is just in front of me here. There she is. So she's just sitting, waiting patiently like a good mother to try and see where her little cub is. Now, her cub was bounding around somewhere in the right-hand side here. Now, she looks like she's found something. I don't know what she's busy trotting after. Now, just careful your head here, Craig. It is very, very thick. Oh, there goes the little cub. It's just here on the right. Here it goes. Now it's going to join up with its mom. You see it there, Craig? Look at that. Isn't it cute? Now, this is the first time I've seen the little cub, so I'm so excited. Isn't this amazing? Like I say, what a way to start our cat today with wild dogs and then Shadow and the little cub together. This is amazing. Now I'm hoping she's going to go to Red Dam. Hello, little one. No, it's very, very cool to see. I'm just trying to give her a bit of space because I don't want her to get too flustered. We are in a dense, thick area and it is a tough place for us to follow. I don't want to chase her with her cub, and she seems to be moving really quickly. It's obviously that she's been moving around the whole morning and tracks have been up and down, so for us to find her and that she's actually out in the open is really good, because in the section that we're in, it's not very pleasant. If she goes left or right, it's going to be really tough, but she's just in front of us here, and I'm going to have to make space for one of the other vehicles to have a little look as well, because obviously this is not something that we get to see often, and Shadow has been quite elusive, as her name suggests, over the last few days. There we go. So, Lara, you say today it's raining cats and dogs. Indeed it is. Now I'm just going to try pull forward so Peter can go past me and get a view of these leopards. There we go. Peter, can you fit? There we go. So she's just gone behind the bush over there in the distance, and there's the cub. I don't know where it's gone to now. I think it ran to the right somewhere. But yes, it is raining cats and dogs, and aren't we so fortunate to be able to find both wild dogs and leopard cub on the same morning. You can just see her moving in the background there. Now where's your little one? There it goes. Isn't it cute? Isn't that amazing? And definitely a little female, and look at it moving away. How amazing is this? I wonder if they're not going to go to Red Dam, and I'm hoping if they do go to Red Dam that they're going to end up going for a little drink and we'll get them right out in the open. That would be just the most special way to spend our morning. Now I'm going to just try see if I can't go in behind Peter here. She is moving into a very dense area. It's the same area where we were trying to find Tingana yesterday, and it's not an easy place to go. It's a place that we have to be a little bit kind of wary of, and if she gets into that thicket, the chances of us being able to follow are going to be very slim. So let's just try and stay, sort of give her some distance so that we don't push her into that thicket. But she's being typical Shadow in that she's walking as quickly and as fast as she possibly can, which is always a trait of this particular female. She likes to move and get into these sort of dense areas. And you can see the little tail of the cub on the right hand side there just twitching. It's getting so big now. From the time James saw it, where it was a tiny little fluff ball, to this is amazing. Now we've had a bit of a leopard drought the last few days. This is certainly a way to break that drought. We are being absolutely spoilt this morning. This is so amazing. Hoping she is slowly but surely heading towards Red Dam. There goes the little cub, bounding away in the grass. Is the grass a bit long for you, little one? Amazing. This is so cool. Any morning or any day that you can spend with a leopard cub is incredible. So, Mercedes, I didn't get the rest of your question. Sorry, Peter was just talking to me there as I went past him. So, you want to know the sex of the cub. It's a little female as far as I can see. I will 100% confirm now, but it does look like a little female to me. That's what I could see when it was walking away from us just now. But they are going straight to Red Dam. That's amazing. Hopefully they're going to go drink. If they drink, we are going to be in for an absolute treat in this morning light. So I know the cub was just on our right hand side. Mom is just in front. So I don't want to sort of separate the two now. The little cub will be coming out just in front of us here, Craig. There it goes. Did you see it bounding along? Isn't it amazing? Now we are going into a nice big open clearing, so we should get really nice visuals of Shadow and the little one in the next 2 minutes. I wonder if she's going to just sit there. Just trying to give her some space and let her... Oh, look, they're playing now. Isn't this amazing? Are you two going to have a little game together? Okay, so she's going to pop out here, Craig. So she's decided to avoid the dam a little bit, but here she's coming past us again. Look at that in that beautiful morning light. Now where are you, little cub? There you come. There it goes. Bounding along. The grass is too long. It looks like a little scrub here bouncing along. So, Marty, Shadow's cub won't be named for a while still. It only will be named probably when it gets to over a year old. So, when they are still this young, we don't give them names because the chances of survival are so low. And so, we don't want to try and jinx it in any way. It's just kind of a feeling amongst the rangers. And also, we don't know if it's going to survive. There's no point in giving a name to a leopard that's not going to survive. And so, we wait until it gets to about a year old before we will. Now, I'm just trying to get into a position where we can see her. There we go. Hopefully she's going to just go a little. There we go. There's the cub. See it running? Come back to your mom. We want to see you, little one. Still a little bit nervous of the cars. And we really haven't spent too much time with Shadow and this cub because she's been quite elusive. We haven't had a chance to sort of spend long hours with it. And so what is she chasing? Seems like she was after something. Look at how she's sitting. She's watching something, definitely. And isn't that amazing? For those of you who like screenshots, this long, tall, white grass with Shadow striding through it, that is as good as it gets. And she's posing like a real poser. Now, hopefully the cub is going to come out near where her mom is. And I wonder what she's maybe just checking this dam, making 100% sure that there is no sign of any other predator before she then goes down and takes this cub into that area. Especially if maybe she's had an issue with Tingana over the last few days. You never know. Maybe him being around has made her a lot more cautious of what's going on. But that is beautiful. Those spots, the colors, are just amazing. Now, I wonder where the little cub is. Oh, hello, Shadow. You are looking incredible. She's looking in great condition as well. She's got very, very healthy body at the moment. Look, she's calling. So she's making that chuffing sound, which is the way that they call their cubs, and it basically goes and that will call the cub out. And she's telling the cub, no, it's okay, it's safe, you can come out into the open, don't worry. Even though there's these two big objects, you don't have to worry too much. Isn't that amazing? You are a beautiful girl. And in the absence of Karula, seeing Shadow and Tundi always kind of tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. And, we kind of reminds us that Karula is still not missing and that at least the lineage and the legacy is going to come along. Hello, little girl. Isn't that amazing? She is beautiful. Oh, look at that. Guys, this is so incredibly special. To see this is one of those sightings that are... You will go many, many drives, as you all know, without seeing something as special as this. But she's a beautiful little female. Look at her. She's quite big already. Oh, and that is beautiful. Well done, Craig. That's very, very nice. And I'm so glad she came out and has decided to sit for a little bit. You can see she's panting because she's been trying to keep up with Mom in this long grass. So she's been having to do lots of extra work, bounding along. Where are you off to? Are you going to go play on the sticks? Now, she is at that age where she's going to be on meat already, so I wonder if Mom maybe doesn't have a carcass somewhere, and that's also why she's just looking around, making 100% sure that there's nothing here that could potentially harm her cub. She's probably learned some valuable lessons, and there we go. Now they're departing the scene again, decided that they're not going to go to Red Dam, and now they're going to carry on. There she goes. So, John, the cub must be now, where are we? We're in May, so the cub is about 5 months old. We think it was born just around, just after New Year's, was the first time that we saw her in the, going towards this area. And funny enough, we had her on an impala kill, and she was heavily, heavily pregnant, and she was lactating, well, not lactating, but she was starting to groom her own teats, and she was very heavy. And she was on this impala kill, and all of a sudden, it was late afternoon, she just got up and she started running. She didn't actually even sit for 1 minute. She ran, and she ran straight into this area that we're in now. She then, I'm sure, gave birth that night, because 2 days later, somebody saw her and she had the suckle marks. So I think that was when she gave birth, and I think it was on the 3rd or 4th of January, somewhere there, just before the TV shows started in January. So it was somewhere around there that she gave birth. So it must be about 5 months old now, just over 5 months, approaching 6 months. So it's still little and still kind of can see very, very reliant on Mom. And I'm just going to stop here because I don't want to push them too much. You can see Mom is kind of looking around every now and then and just making sure that we're not following too closely. And we want this cub to relax with us, so we have to give it positive and sort of good experiences by respecting their space and allowing them to have the sort of space to move around. But where they're going now is going to be very, very difficult to follow them much further. We go into a little thicket here, and a little clearing, and then after that clearing it becomes almost impossible. So I'm going to try and stay with her as long as I can. But there's the little cub on the mound in front. She's just watching Mom. There we go. What you doing? Oh, up the mound we go. I'll just try see if I... Now, let's just see. The little cub seems to be on top of the mound here. I wonder if it will let us get a little bit closer so we can have a look at it. I'm just going very slowly because I don't want to spook it. Let's see. No, it's gone down the mound on the other side. So Tammy, no, she didn't. She had actually 2 cubs. When James who was one of the first people to see Shadow's cubs, she had 2. And then now over the last when we had that cyclone Nat.Geo come through, that was when one of them was lost. We have no idea what happened to that poor cub, but it could be that it got caught up in the floods that flooded these drainage lines where Shadow was keeping them. It could have been a hyena, it could have been another leopard. It's very difficult to sort of say without knowing for sure, but that was when it disappeared, and so there was 2, but it's now just the 1, which is okay. She's still doing really well. Just to raise this cub to sort of maturity is a really tough feat, and we know Shadow has been plagued with bad luck, and she's really had a tough time of it. In the areas that she spent time is where we often see Tingana and Anderson in sort of overlapping territories. There's the cub there, Craig. So, James, you're wondering because of the territory. So you see it there, Craig? It's just sitting. There it is. Now it's going to sneak off into the thicket, and Mom is calling it from over there, so that's why it's now sneaking off. But yeah, the territory that she sits in is not in a great place. She's on the sort of divide between Anderson and Tingana, and sometimes other even young males that we've seen in these areas. And that means that she's often, unfortunately, getting caught up, and the male leopards are killing her cubs. So she's had a tough time of it, but only as time goes, she's starting to kind of work it out. And I think now with Anderson and Tingana having quite set territories, hopefully she'll be alright. She's been pushing very far to the east and spending a lot more time in the eastern sections, which is great because that's where Tingana is dominant, and we think Tingana is the male for this, or is the father of this cub. Don't know for sure, but we think so. And the fact that Tingana was seen in this area yesterday, and the tracks for the cubs and her were here, means that probably she's comfortable with the fact that he's around, and the fact that she's brought the cub here means that she's okay with Tingana. Now, I see them moving down in the dip there. I don't know if we're going to be able to actually follow them and stay with them, but we are certainly going to try our best. There are quite a few vehicles that do want to come in, so we're going to probably have to limit our time with Shadow and Cub, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And sometimes, just to be able to see them is special, and I think we've had amazing views. Right, now we're going to try see if I can't get in here and try get a better visual, and while I do that, let's go to James and see how he's doing with the potential father of this cub.
The father of this cub has headed south across out of the reserve, so unfortunately we won't be finding him. And I'm struggling to feel anything but green envy for Tristan this morning. Dogs and leopard cub. We've had Waltheria. Very exciting. It would be exciting if it was not the sort of 4,000th time we've had it on Bushwalk. Anyway, there it is. And then we also had Albizia harveyi. Now, Albizia harveyi is an important tree out here, especially as a winter forage for the elephants. Now, there have been plenty of elephants around here at the moment, and I've noticed how they've moved away from their grazing ways and back onto their browsing ways. And this plant, which is potentially the size of those big marula trees, that's how big it can potentially get, you can see is being kept much, much smaller by the elephants. This is the trunk of this poor, much destroyed Albizia harveyi plant. This is the huge trunk that it has, and every time it looks like it's getting any bigger, of course, the elephants come and they eat the leaves, and it must start again. And that is the great wonder of plants, I suppose, is that it's actually really quite difficult to kill them with something like this. But if you were to unplant this tree and try and transplant it and put it somewhere else, it would almost certainly die. And the amount of interesting interactions that are going on between the roots and the soils, and of course the biotic component of what's in the soils, so in other words the bacteria and the microorganisms that surround the roots, is quite astonishing. And I had an experience of that when, during our January and February TV shows, I was trying to keep our acrea butterflies alive, and they were living entirely on these WildEarthTV plants, and I didn't want them to be eaten by birds, and so I replanted a whole lot of acreas. I pulled them out of the ground, and I removed them probably, I don't know, about 20 meters or so. Well, it wasn't far. It was just so that I could put them right outside the tent. I dug a hole, I put water in it, and I replanted them. Within less than minutes of pulling them up, I'd put them back in the ground with water, and they all withered and died within days. So there is a tremendous amount of complicated interaction going on under the ground between the roots and the soil and the bacteria, the fungi, and various other microorganisms. Laura, you say, which one has leaves closed at night? I'm not sure which one you mean. Do you mean the WildEarthTV or do you mean the Albizia? I don't know how to answer that, I'm afraid. Neither of them will close their leaves hugely during the night time. I suppose the WildEarthTV might close its leaves up during the heat of the day. If it got really hot, they'll close them up. That's to reduce evapotranspiration off the leaves, in other words, to reduce water loss, which occurs through the stomata, which are the sort of breathing holes, if you like, on the surface of a leaf. So if it gets really hot, a tree will often close its leaves like that. This one doesn't, though. Well, it probably does. It has the opportunity to do that, I suppose. It does. The individual leaflets don't actually have a vein down the middle of them, so they can't close. But the leaflets, as they're arranged on the pinna, which are these sort of... let me just take one of these off and explain it to you properly. So that is a full leaf. That whole thing there is a leaf. These are the pinna, and each little green thing, which you traditionally call a leaf, is a leaflet. And on the pinna, you can find these things closing. So the leaflets will close together. They always look like that on these Albizias, though I don't think they open up tremendously more than that. Although there are some trees that have glands in between the leaflets, which will contract and, what's the opposite of contract? Expand, depending on the temperature and the amount of water that there is in the atmosphere. So that is Albizia harveyi, or the common false thorn. And that is all I have to say about this particular area, and therefore we're going to head across to Jamie, who has got, I think, possibly her favourite animal.
It's one of my favourite animals. I do really enjoy spending time with them, and we've had a lot of really lovely sightings with them. Would I say they're my absolute favourite? Oh, it's too hard to really judge. But this is always the perfect time on a winter's morning to sit with a family of dwarf mongoose, because they've just emerged from their burrows and are enjoying the glow of the morning wintry sun and warming up, essentially. And this is the same group of, well, I'm pretty sure it's the same group of dwarf mongoose. Remember that sighting that we had with Wiem, where there was a snake and the dwarf mongoose were all frantically squeaking, and they moved all of their babies. They were carrying the little ones in their mouths to the next burrow away from where the snake was. I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same family, but at this point, I mean, that was well over must have been close to a year ago now. So at this point, the pups have all grown up and are now part of the clan proper. And they're all gathered. It's so sweet. The little heads all popping up. I'm playing a bit shy today, aren't you? It's okay. You can all come out. I love sitting with dwarf mongoose in this kind of situation because there's just heads everywhere. Every time you look down one of the holes, there's a little head poking out, and then it disappears for a second and then pops back up out of the next one.